Now, before we begin, I just want to give a huge thanks to the Swapfell Tumblr blog and numerous Undertale fandom wikis for having a lot of this information at the ready. I would have had no idea where to even start with half of this without them. Now, let's get into it. December 12th, 2015. Tumblr user SansSouls posts, "You've heard of Underfell. You've heard of Underswap. But you haven't heard of Underfellswap." This was one of the very first posts bringing up the idea of merging the two Undertale AUs, Underfell and Underswap, into one glorious fusion. With Undertale's short playtime, it really wasn't a surprise alternate universe ideas came popping up so soon after its full release. With the game releasing on September 15th, 2015, one of the first recognized alternate universes coming in a little over a week later, on September 22nd, with Kindred Spirits by Quill Sparks, where Frisk shares their soul with Azrael. And the second officially recognized AU coming in mere hours later, with Dreamer Reborn by Fats, with a similar premise, with Frisk wanting Flowey to come to the surface even if it means giving him their soul. Many more popular alternate universes began popping up like crazy, two notable ones being Underfell and Underswap, and a very quick, brief history on both. The idea of Underfell first came up on October 4th, 2015, where the creator, Vic the Underfeller, drew a Toriel fanart at the request of another Twitter user, except made her evil. A couple of weeks later, on the 16th, he came back and drew most of the main cast, that being Papyrus, Sans, Toriel, Undyne, Alphys, and Asgore, looking edgier and changing all the color palettes to be focused on blacks and reds and gold, calling the idea simply an evil Undertale AU. A mere day later, he decided to officially call it Underfell, and then later changed the designs a little more into the set that we know and love today. Underfell was a quick success, with people eating up this concept like Susie and Chris eating up moss. Now onto Underswap. Originally brought up by Popcorn Prince on Tumblr, talking about the idea of an alternate universe where the Skeleton Bros' personalities were somewhat swapped, with an accompanying concept art of Underswap Sans on October 21st, 2015. Underswap, like the name suggests, is where most or all the characters have had their personalities or roles swapped with another character, like Sans and Papyrus having their personalities swapped, and Papyrus being the judge and Sans being the royal guard hopeful. And just like Underfell, this alternate universe blew up in popularity very quickly. These two are some of the foundational Undertale AUs, the must-knows of Undertale AUs. People began taking these two AUs and tweaking them and working them to fit the ideas that they wanted to see from them. Well, some of that causing more stress to the creators than joy seeing the creations being reworked in really weird ways, which led to both of them leaving the community at one point. But before any of that happened just yet, as people were making fan content of these AUs, they realized another way to work with them. That being fusing them into one mega alternate universe. In comes in Underfellswap, Swapfell. Anyway, the general idea of these alternate universes are what you get on the tin. Underfell, Underswap, mashed together. Even with just that baseline, there's so many ways just the premise alone could go, just like how there's so many ways evil Undertale or personality or role swapped Undertale could have gone, like Negative Tail or Inverted Fate. The earliest mention of the idea of Swapfell AUs was in a post made by Tumblr user Whoa Look Art and Words. Posted on October 25th, 2015, it shows a design of a papyrus based on the idea of merging Underfell and Underswap, with the simple caption, at Underfell's AU plus at Popcorn Princess AU equals cool. With Underswap having been recorded to have been made on the 21st, I think it's safe to say this is probably the first official post bringing up the idea of not only merging the AUs but having a prototype design of a character based on them. Well, the first post that I could find anyway. However, the post I mentioned in the beginning was the first to actually try putting a name to this new AU idea, even if it was a little wordy compared to the sleek and short Swapfell that we have today. The post got some attention, but admittedly not that much, but enough to get the attention of a certain Tumblr user. Less than 30 minutes after the post was made, a new blog popped up, initially titled Underfellswap, the blog, with its first post reblogging the post that was mentioned before, followed by another post simply saying designs to come soon. And as promised, in less than 48 hours, they delivered with some of the first designs for an Underfellswap Sand, followed by an Underfellswap Papyrus coming soon after, which both got way less attention than I expected the original designs for such a vastly popular alternate universe idea to get. If I was any of these users I just mentioned, I would not be shutting up about being one of the first people to have designs for this alternate universe idea for years. But well, in any case, the idea was now officially put out into the world. Although this was technically the first instance of Underfellswap being openly posted about, a different version of this gained massive popularity, and that one is seen as the official first Underfellswap alternate universe. Ko Hopang's Swapfell AU, and forgive me if I'm saying their name wrong. And bear with me if any of these details are wrong since Ko Hopang deleted his account, so a lot of the information I'm getting is secondhand. On October 28, 2016, Ko Hopang, or KH for short, unveiled their designs for a Swapfell based on Undyne, Alphys, and Napstablook. Even though there was a bigger focus on Alphys and Undyne in this AU, it was their design for the skeleton bros that really gave the AU a huge popularity boost. So much so that it suffered heavily from art thieves who took their designs, reposted them, and didn't give them any credit for it. It got so bad that less than 6 months after creating the Swapfell AU, according to this Tumblr post I found, they deleted their Tumblr account, deleted most of the posts with the artwork for it, and quit doing anything Undertale related publicly. The only remnants being the art fans at the time had managed to save and archive themselves. As of now, they're still deactivated, with no signs of return, which is a little unfortunate since you could tell that they had a lot of talent that was robbed from being appreciated by the world because of these reposters. And well, even with their admittedly short time making content for this AU, its popularity still lives on to this day, like most popular AUs do, even if the original creator had left the Undertale fandom space. And it's helped by the fact that it was adopted by another Tumblr user called Nishimori38 in 2017, so fans could see this AU come back to life once more with new art and comics, which I definitely recommend giving a read if you can, and don't mind Google translating for some of the pages that haven't been translated into English yet. Well, going back to when they were still active, their Swapfell AU gave this specific Undertale AU stack up of Underfell and Underswap a huge boost in popularity, to no one's surprise. If Underfell and Underswap got popular, why wouldn't their love child be? So much so that the default name for any AU that merges Underswap and Underfell was kind of just decided to just be Swapfell rather than Fellswap. Mostly for this reason, but also for another reason I'll be talking about a little bit later. While this is one of the most popular takes on how people interpret the idea of Swapfell, there's two more versions that people tend to think of when you bring this AU idea up. Rather than purple, these two ideas both follow the color scheme of Underfell, reds, blacks, and golds. So it's only fitting that the next Swapfell AU I want to talk about is called Fellswap Gold. Created by Tumblr user blackgum/jotland/jot, with the earliest available post for this AU being posted on April 4th, 2017, but the earliest that I could find being on April 9th. But it could also be referring to an artwork they did with lots of versions of Papyrus, with one that looks like an early design of the Fellswap Papyrus that shows up as being posted on the 5th when I checked. But anyway, I'm gonna be a little bit biased here and say that I really like this AU, since it isn't just another Swapfell AU, but it can be seen as its own universe, outside of just being Swapfell. You know, in the vast expanse of Undertale AUs that have been released, and even with it having been released a little later than most popular AUs that we know today. While, yes, it follows the basic beats of a typical Underswap plus Underfell combo AU, it's so much more than just that. The core theme of the AU is oppression versus freedom, with the author themselves saying that the story was written based on their own situation at the time. And while I want to rant and rave more about how much I like this AU and the story it has, well, I feel like that's a rambling session for another video, which I'm planning to do since I could have missed it, but I haven't seen any videos talking about this AU, so I might make that one next. So instead, look how gorgeous these character designs are. Even if you're an Undertale fan that only likes alternate universes for their designs and not their story, I don't think anyone could deny how wonderfully Jot had made all these characters look, and how well they all fit into the totalitarian state this underground is in when the protagonist falls into it. This AU gained so much popularity that eventually it became the default AU for the term Fellswap, without even needing the gold differentiator to separate it from the other Swapfell AUs. I mean, you can try it now. If you try searching for just Fellswap, the first results will just be Fellswap Gold. Though, hold on MIMU, I can hear you saying as you look at the screen that I'm showing you right now, that isn't Fellswap Gold, and technically, it is Fellswap Gold, but just not the Fellswap Gold that we know right now. All it is just an earlier version of the Fellswap Gold skeletons, but fan artists do make heavy use of their designs to draw the skeleton bros for a different AU. And this is as good enough a segue to the final Swapfell I'll be talking about, that being Swapfell Red. I think of the three Swapfell AUs that I'll be focusing on in this video, this one feels the most community-owned, open for interpretation. It's the one people have played around with the most, at least. Also, warning, most of the original creators for Swapfell AUs that fall under the broad Swapfell Red category all have ship preferences that are pretty controversial for most fans, as in implied or outright shipping Sands of Papyrus or Sands of Papyrus with the child protagonists of their universe, so tread with caution from here on out. While KH's Swapfell or Swapfell Purple has a set creator that gave it up and switched to having its story continued by Nishimori38, and Fellswap Gold is created and owned by Jot, this AU is a little bit more complicated. See, when trying to search for the first version of these red Swapfell Sands and Papyrus that most people seem to be taking reference to, the earliest version that I could find, and warning, cause both the artworks I'll be talking about have heavily implied Sans x Papyrus shipping, was created by Tumblr user of the Forest. posted on March 20th, 2016, with the most popular tweaked version that gives Swapfell Sans his iconic shorts instead of the original long pants, being created by deleted Tumblr user Ellie Sin G on March 26th. Though the Ellie Sin G post and another post from the Found Raven are the only two posts I've seen that say that Of the Forest was the original creator of this design, there could be another one that I've missed, but any other artwork that uses this specific design or something close to it that I could find were made after March 26th. So I'm just going to say that they were the original creator/creators. And I wondered why it was so hard to find the original artists for this design, but now that it seems they had a very controversial way of seeing the Skeleton Bros relationship, I'm not exactly surprised this information kind of just faded away with time. However, I could be wrong, so there's a chance someone who was in the Undertale fandom's initial popularity boom in 2015, 2016 knows anything, so if you're watching that, please tell me in the comments if you have any idea who the original creator was, if it wasn't the artists that I mentioned before. Anyway, people seem to just mostly base their Swapfell art that wasn't based on Swapfell Purple on these red versions of the Swapfell monsters, mostly the Skeleton Brothers, or they use their own interpretation of this AU. Until Tumblr user Ziznine came along and made their own version of this AU on May 8th, 2016, with that post being their own version of Swapfell Red, Sans, and Papyrus. The Ziznine AU definitely fits the bill in terms of being a Fell universe. Like, damn. Like Fellswap Gold, I won't be talking about the backstory much since I feel like I'd be yapping too long, but maybe I'll make a video about them too, we'll see. Anyway, another AU with killer fashion for the characters that I'm not surprised became the default of what people think of when they hear Swapfell Red. Even though they have a lot of information about the characters of the alternate universe, with each one getting a character sheet with a small description, except for the Skeleton Brothers, since their info sheet is just nowhere to be found. The Skeleton Brothers still somehow managed to be the main show for most fans who came across this AU. There was a slight shift in how people began drawing their Swapfell fan art after this. While the Sans design seemed pretty similar, with the only real noticeable difference being Sans' eyes either being blue or red, the Papyrus designs are usually a pretty good tip-off on which version of Swapfell people were basing their fan art on, whether they realized it or not. With Elsing G's more popular Of the Forest redesign having orange pants, while Ziznine/Jots has black pants with a striped line running down either side. And speaking of Jot, as in the creator of Fellswap Gold, I mentioned before, an earlier version of the Fellswap Gold boys looked a lot like Ziznine's Swapfell design of them. So much so that Ziznine had to make a post about people calling the design Fellswap Gold instead of Swapfell Red, and being upset that people weren't giving their design the credit and recognition that it deserved. I believe this reason was why Jot decided to completely redesign the Fellswap Gold skeletons and delete the original version from their Tumblr account to make it easier for fans to tell them apart from the Swapfell Red Skeleton Brothers, which was honestly a blessing with the designs and the characterization we ended up getting from it, because look at them. And there's another Swapfell Red that was released that was also pretty popular and well known. Created by Tumblr user YiB Miyuki or YiB, with the first post they made featuring their version of the characters on November 9th, 2016. While the designs are very similar to the previous versions of Swapfell Red AUs I just talked about, like the situation with the Fellswap Gold and Ziznine Swapfell Red AU designs looking very similar. AUs can have, well, similar designs and still count as their own AU, so I'll be treating theirs as such. And there are differences in their designs that differentiate them from the other Swapfell Red designs, so it's not like this was a one-to-one copy of the already existing designs when they came along. And in terms of the story, it's honestly pretty tame in terms of heavy themes, and it's filled with softer, fluffier comics and stories. Well, while I'm normally all for fluff and softness and slice of life, this artist puts Frisk and Kara with the skeletons in very ship-like ways, while making it clear that the humans are still considered children or pre-teens at most, so personally, not really a fan of this AU myself because of how open and obvious it is, but it still felt like it was worth mentioning since it does have its own fandom wiki page and its art does come up a lot in Google searches, so why not mention it? And well, there was another Swapfell that I considered talking about, that being Swapfell Emerald, but it seems like it's just like a design, like a reskin of Paris for a Roblox game, so I'm not gonna go into that since it doesn't seem to have a specific AU centered around it. But I might as well just mention it so people know that I at least looked into it. Anyway, for a short recap of the main Swapfell designs, we got the original first ones, we got K-Hopbang's Swapfell Purple, then all the Swapfell Reds, starting with Of the Forest / Il Senji's design, then Ziznine's, then YiB's, and finally we have Jot's Fellswap Gold. But of course, the concept of Swapfell is super flexible, so there's tons and tons of other designs and versions of this AU that exist out there with amazing backstories and gorgeous character designs. Even if the ones I talked about are the most popular and well-known versions, that doesn't mean people can't experiment and create their own versions of it. Most of the creators I talked about have made it very clear that they approve of other artists taking their work or taking the general idea of the AU and tweaking it to their liking, since the AU idea at its core is owned by the Undertale community. Oh well, by no one really. I mean, it's just taking two existing AUs and smashing them together. Anyone could have thought of that. No one person owns a Swapfell or Fellswap idea, so anyone should be allowed to have as much fun with the idea as they want. I mean, isn't that the fun of Undertale alternate universes anyway? Sorry for the little tangent there. To end this video off, I'm not really sure why I wanted to make this. I guess it's mostly because I was just kind of curious about the Swapfell category, since, well, specifically Swapfell Red was so hard to pin down compared to Swapfell Purple and Fellswap Gold when I wanted to learn more about them. It ended up being a little bit more research than I expected, and it was a little frustrating having to find art and original artists from accounts that were deleted, but well, it was touching to see how people really wanted to preserve and archive the art of those who just left the fandom for very reasonable reasons, let me make that clear, and keep that art safe for any future fans. Anyway, I don't really know how to end this, so next video will probably be another Undertale one, so maybe please subscribe so you can be notified when it'll be coming out. Let me know if I missed something in the video, since I'm always willing to be corrected on any mistakes I made, since, well, right now I'm a one-woman army, so there are things that I might have missed searching for things without any real guidance, so any help is appreciated. If you made it this far in the video, thank you. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take care!